Yeah, welcome back. A major leadership shakeup is taking place at ICE as internal tensions seem to be growing within the Department of Homeland Security. ICE's enforcement strategy now incorporates Border Patrol tactics, reflecting Department of Homeland Security's push to accelerate deportations. For more, let's bring in our guest, immigration lawyer Deron Smallcomb, as well as Trump National Security Council Chief of Staff Fred Fleitz. And let's also welcome back our very special guests, Doug Burns and Dwayne Moore. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Now, Fred, I'm going to start with you. We know DHS is releasing record-breaking numbers for deportations. The question is Border Patrol better able to deal with deportations than ICE?
You know, I hate stories like this when I see people on our side disagreeing, but apparently Tom Homeland wants to emphasize arresting and deporting criminal aliens, the worst of the worst, and Kristi Noem wants to take a broader approach to drive down the number of illegals in this country with mass deportations. I think you could do both at the same time, but if the press reports are accurate, there's some significant disagreements on this, and Noem is making some personnel changes to push the priorities that she prefers. I don't like to see stories like this.
Yeah, I'm kind of, but to me, it does seem like a non-story. The fact that you got two leaders that have, some thoughts, different thoughts about how to approach the same issue, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We know the president has said he wants 1,500 deportations a day. Kristi Noem is laser focused on that. And we got, Tom Homeland who's saying go after criminals. That's not a bad thing. So, Deron, the question, though, is the change, is that necessary? Are these tactics necessary that we see happening?
Well, I think that some changes are necessary. I mean, President Trump has put a lot of pressure on both these folks to secure the most insecure border in the history of the United States. And that's a monumental task. And any healthy organization is going to have disagreement about how to accomplish that task. And that's healthy. And I think that I applaud them for having different ideas and trying to hash it out. I don't think it should be public necessarily, but it's a good thing that we're analyzing priorities and reevaluating how to go about that moving forward.
Yeah, Dwayne, I'm not sure there's really anything to this story. I mean, obviously it's in the press, so we got to report on it, but this just seems like a non-starter to me. The fact that you've got two leaders who both want to clean up illegals from our country. The question just is where to start. What are your thoughts on this story?
Yeah, I don't think this is a non-story. I think any time when there's an organization, there's disagreement and there's different priorities. I think one, making sure the worst of the worst, the people that are terrorists, the people that are gang connected are deported is important. But there was an election and we had a tolerance for illegal immigration before when it wasn't an extreme pull on our tax base. But when you allow 14, 15 plus million people in, and we have an election, there was a clear answer. We don't want this anymore. We want a legal process to where people are safely vetted and brought into this country. And what we're seeing now is there is an intense effort now to make sure that that happens. There's different priorities. Hopefully they figure it out, but the job is getting done and it's not being stopped. Now, we really should talk about why the Democrats, they screamed January 6th, but they're egging their supporters on to assault federal officers to stop the same laws that they voted for. If they really cared about insurrection, they would stop having insurrection on a day-to-day basis across this country.
Such a good point. I do want to turn, though, to a real-life Halloween horror in Michigan. We know FBI Director Kash Patel said his organization thwarted a potential international terrorist attack this weekend. Patel took to social media saying, thanks to swift action and coordination with our partners, a violent plot tied to international terrorism was disrupted. This is what defending the homeland looks like. Vigilance saves lives. Let's get you in here, Doug. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, no, they did a great job. Obviously, they went online, undercover, and they found out, I think it was out in Michigan, there was a lot of talk about firearms. And then one of the things that really gave it away, they talked about Pumpkin Day, and they were able to get in, infiltrate, and break it up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess same question to you, Fred. I mean, what's your reaction to this story? It seems like these are becoming way too common, but thank God we've got, really smart people looking at this and thwarting these attacks, right?
The threat from radicalization and from ISIS and these terrorist groups has not gone away. We have to keep our guard up. The Trump administration is on this, but this is really a brilliant example of police work. They did infiltrate the online conversations between these suspects. They followed them to a gun range where they were apparently practicing for the attack. The FBI does a lot of this behind the scenes that we don't know about, and that's what they're being paid to do, to keep us safe.
Yeah, Deron, I want to get both you and Doug's thoughts on this. We know this discussion and planning of a terror attack can be prosecuted as conspiracy under federal law, even if the plot is not executed. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Conspiracy is a separate crime. In fact, a conspiracy to commit a misdemeanor is a felony. It's a very serious deal, and it has different aspects with regards to the statute of limitations. So they can certainly pursue that. And I give credit to Kash Patel and his team. Like he says, let good cops be good cops. And that's what we saw here. And it's a good thing.
Yeah, now, Doug, we know, according to officials, the group reportedly planned a terror attack around Halloween, which they call Pumpkin Day. What's your reaction?
Well, no, my reaction again, same point, which is, they were able to go online, able to follow them, as Fred said, to gun ranges. And then on conspiracy, real quick, a conspiracy is an agreement to do a crime with an overt act towards doing the crime. Even if the crime is not ultimately committed, and it can get a little tricky, you can be guilty of conspiracy. So, you and I agree to do a crime, and I say, I'm going to use this screwdriver to break in, and then it doesn't happen, you can nevertheless be charged with conspiracy. But in the real world, I must say, inside baseball, I was a federal prosecutor 9 years, we would charge conspiracy most of the time when the actual crime was also done.
Really good point. Final word to you, Dwayne. The Trump administration, they ran on law and order. This seems to be what people voted for. What are your thoughts there? About 45 seconds to you.
We just have to thank the patriots that are doing this right now, that are not paid. I think right now in the United States, we take so much for granted our safety. We don't have to deal with rockets flying over our country, and we have a law enforcement that does a good job to where we can live safe lives and not even know it. But when we have a party right now that's telling the citizens to go out and destroy federal property, go out and attack federal officers, it weakens their integrity. But luckily, they're doing it with resolve and respect, and we should all be grateful for their efforts.
I think you're right. We should be great. We don't have rockets flying, but when Joe Biden was president, we did have, unarmed balloons that were flying over our country. Thank God we don't have those anymore.
Maybe
Fred,
the auto pen could do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fred, Deron, Doug, and Dwayne, thank you guys. We'll see you a little later.
Good to be here.